Hillary Clinton.
It's wonderful being back here. It's always a special privilege, having grown up in Chicago and the suburbs, to be here in the state capitol, and especially here in this great historic place filled with so much meaning, not just for Illinois, but for our country. And I'm delighted to have this opportunity to talk with you about the state of our country today. Nearly 160 years ago, Abraham Lincoln gave a speech in this State House that marked a turning point in the political life of our nation. The question of slavery was being fiercely debated across America. Roughly half the states allowed it, half abolished it, and some people, including Lincoln, believed that until it was gone entirely, our country would never be truly united and at peace. So on June 16th, 1858, when Mr. Lincoln kicked off his campaign for the United States Senate, he delivered an address on how slavery was tearing our country apart and that it must go. Some thought that he ended up losing the Senate race because of that speech, but then he won the presidency, and some thought it was because of that speech. President Lincoln led America during the most challenging period in our nation's history. He defended our Union, our Constitution, and the ideal of a nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. His legacy included laws and amendments that enshrined those values for future generations. They protect and guide us still. I'm here today in this place because the words Lincoln spoke all those years ago still hold resonance for us now. Remember, he said, "A house divided against itself cannot stand. I believe this government cannot endure permanently half slave and half free. I do not expect," he went on, "the Union to be dissolved. I do not expect the house to fall. But I do expect it will cease to be divided. It will become all one thing or all the other." The challenges we face today do not approach those of Lincoln's time, not even close, and we should be very clear about that. But recent events have left people across America asking hard questions about whether we are still a house divided. Despite our best efforts and highest hopes, America's long struggle with race is far from finished. In just the past week, we saw black men killed by police and 5 police officers killed by a sniper targeting white police. There is too much violence and hate in our country, too little trust and common ground. It can feel impossible to have the conversations we need to have to fix what's broken. And despite being the richest country on earth, we have too much economic inequality, and that also undermines the foundation of our democracy. Lincoln understood that threat too. He deeply believed everyone deserved, in his words, a fair chance in the race of life. He saw it as a defining feature of the United States and believed it was vital that hardworking people be free to enjoy the fruits of their own labor. It's one of the reasons he was so strongly against slavery, because it violated that entire notion. And as president, he took pains to use the tools of government to create more economic opportunity for Americans at every level of society. So too must we fight inequality and create opportunity in our time, not just for some Americans, but for all. So I come today as a mother and a grandmother to 2 beautiful little children who I want them and all of our children to grow up in a country where violence, like the kind we saw last week, doesn't happen again, and where the American dream is big enough for everyone. I'm also here as a candidate for president who is deeply concerned about the divisions that still hold our people apart and our nation back. I believe that our future peace and police officers, we remember, but in the end, if we do the work, we will cease to be divided. We, in fact, will be indivisible with liberty and justice for all, and we will remain, in President Lincoln's words, the last best hope of earth. Thank you all very much.